Hello, I am MJ and welcome to the AdventureAmigos.net review for X-Men Days of Future Past. I will be going, as always, spoiler free to start with, and then I'll hit you with a spoiler warning before we get into that. So, first and foremost, the film wastes no time getting into the action, which is fantastic. As you will no doubt know, it is a time-travelling romp. The narrative and story is split between a future and a past. The past being about 10 years or so after X-Men First Class, and the future being somewhere in the region of 8 years after the most recent the most recent X-Men film in chronological order, aka The Wolverine. This is something that works really well with the fact that it just jumps straight into the story. There's not much explanation for what's going on. There's very brief narration at the start. But other than that, we jump straight into it with some characters not even being explained at all, which was actually a really good nod to the fans. Characters like Bishop, their powers aren't explained at all. And certainly as a fan, I appreciated that, a nice little nod. Also, the graphics straight away are incredible. Blink, her powers are just superb, evocative of the kind of things that you see in the Portal video game series, but brought to life on the big screen, and just looked fantastic, with really good choreography as well. The cast is absolutely superb. Got people in here like Ellen Page and Jennifer Lawrence who are just, at the top of their game. Absolutely classic actors like Sir Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart. And then young guns like Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy, who, any one of them individually could hold their own movie down. And the fact that they're all together in this just is fantastic. You couldn't fault a single one of them, they're all so brilliant. Hugh Jackman is really the guy who pins down most of the story. He is in both timelines and serves as probably the protagonist of the film. The pacing of the film is excellent, never a dull moment, and it's always either exciting physically and visually, or in a dramatical sense. It's always very, very enthralling. Now, because of the nature of this film, I feel like a large portion of the reason I loved it so much is down to something that I can only really discuss in a spoilerific manner. As such, I will now hit you with some spoilers, so if you don't want to watch spoilers, turn off now. So, the thing that I loved about this film is that it becomes apparent that this film was crafted and created specifically to retcon the two worst X-Men films. X-Men Origins Wolverine and X-Men The Last Stand. Now, I feel that X-Men Origins Wolverine has very few redeeming features. As always, Hugh Jackman is very good, but other than that, the story is horrific. They did such an appalling thing to Deadpool. The merc with a mouth and they sewed his mouth shut. Staggering. I can only imagine they were setting out to make a bad movie with that film. And then X-Men The Last Stand was... I certainly enjoyed bits of it. I think X-Men Origins Wolverine is a lot worse, but there are things in that movie that I can't forgive, But there's just so much wrong with that film, it's horrible. And of course they kill so many characters and it's just not needed. What this film does is rectifies all of those mistakes by cutting out that entire timeline. I was yearning for Cyclops to be revived, and when I saw Jean Grey standing in the doorway, it became apparent that Cyclops was about to be revealed. Of course he was, and I was extremely happy. There was even a cameo from Kelsey Grammer, so this really was a fantastic, fantastic thing. And such a cracking final scene to the film that left me wanting more. And I think the prospect for future films is absolutely fantastic. I think the fact that we're going to be able to have an X-Men film with all these characters in, Cyclops, Colossus, Wolverine, Jean Grey, it's going to be beautiful because we haven't properly had all of these characters together before. The only downside that I see in the film is that it never really properly feels like there's a real villain for the X-Men to fight, and it boils down yet again to the X-Men versus Magneto, which is something we've seen before. It's not necessarily a bad thing because watching Fassbender and McAvoy's on-screen dynamic is a wonderful thing, but it's old ground that we have trod on. It's old ground that we've gone over before. Peter Dinklage as Bolivar Trask is excellent casting. He creates a very smart and sophisticated, cool and crisp villain. Not a physical presence at all, but he's a thinker, and he created the Sentinels, so he's important to the plot. The Sentinels of the future are very powerful, and the fight scenes with them is fantastic. The few scenes of the old 70s Sentinels, for me, are a bit... They could have been pushed a little bit further, but ultimately I did think the action was good. I will say that Quicksilver's scenes were absolutely fantastic. They blew me away, his cocky attitude and the way that he fought. And that scene in the room in the Pentagon, where he's running around listening to music, that is just incredible. In fact, I think Avengers Age of Ultron are going to have a quite a big task ahead of them to beat that iteration of Quicksilver. So I was very impressed and quite surprised with that. So ultimately, I do think that the film was definitely not perfect, and it definitely didn't blow me away. However, I did think it was thoroughly enjoyable, and if you consider that this is a film that has got the X-Men movie universe, the X-Men cinematic universe, back on track, retconning 2 entire films out of existence, I think it's as good as it could have been. You know, this is really a fan-made movie. I find it impressive that we've got to a point in the X-Men movies where, you know, we've had so many now that we can actually dedicate an entire film just to correcting mistakes of the past. And that's fantastic. So ultimately, the film was really great, and I feel that I am very excited for the potential future of the series, rather than being excited about this movie. You know, it was very good, totally solid, the cast is fantastic, the action scenes that there are very good, but it's really what this movie did to the X-Men cinematic universe that is important, and that I will take away, and that I am very thankful for. I would give this film a pretty low 4 stars, but a 4 stars nevertheless. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Check out the channel and subscribe for more awesome videos. See you next time.